For the first time ever in Rocket League history, we have all 16 RLCS teams from North America and Europe in the same stadium fighting to sit upon the DreamHack throne. But we have the Oceanic Champions and Tainted Minds and 15 other contenders composed of the best teams from all over the world looking to bring them down a peg and serve up a solid slice of humble pie. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what many are calling the most stacked tournament in Rocket League history here at the DreamHack Pro Circuit live in Leipzig, Germany. I'm your host, Wade Dreadnought Penfold, and I'll be breaking down all of the action throughout the entirety of the weekend. And if you thought that the player rosters are the only reason that this tournament is stacked, you are poorly mistaken here, as my analyst desk is equally as stacked here, both in Gibbs and Achieves. Guys, I have got to ask, how's it feel to be here in Germany, kicking off the DreamHack in 2019?
It feels amazing to have 4 DreamHacks.
Yeah.
$100,000. That's double the prize pool from last year, and just everyone showed up. Every single team is here, so whoever wins can rightfully say, like, hey, we're the best in the world, at least for this weekend. So I'm so excited to see all the games.
Yeah, we've literally never had a tournament where every single RLCS team was able to participate. So definitely excited to see how this one plays out, and let's get it going.
Are we expecting to see anything get wild here? Like, do you guys have any, like, you know,
Absolutely.
first hot takes coming in?
Oh, first hot takes? Bread makes day 3.
Oh, all right.
I like it. I actually have Bread as the winner, so there you go.
Yeah.
So we're on Team Bread over here, so that's going to be really exciting, but anything can happen, and everyone is going to lose their seeds and kind of jostle around. So there could be groups that have, like, the top 5 teams in the world on day number 2. That's if they survive. I expect, so we're going to have at least 15 teams from the RLCS on day number 2. I expect that number to drop down to, like, somewhere around 13. I think there'll be 2 others that fall off just because the competition is there from all these other teams.
Yeah, and I think you know, are already highlighting one thing that we've got to talk about here going into DreamHack Leipzig, and that is the format, because it is, you know, very wild here with the 32 teams that we do have. Why can we expect some of those teams, especially those favorites of the RLCS, maybe not to make it in day number 2 and 3?
So just look at the qualifiers for WSOE and then DreamHack, where teams were getting upset left and right. Like, even Bread and Ghost for NA make it through, that are 2 of the bottom teams from the RLCS.
And then Ghost, who had
for sure.
season. Yeah.
And then look at Europe, where none of the RLCS teams made it. It's actually 2 teams from the rival series that get a top 8 seed. So we're going to see more upsets because it's the first major tournament where at least a lot of these teams are showing up to. And it's just roster move city, where everyone has changed up at least a part of their roster, and no one knows exactly how it's going to play out.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of change-ups, both, you know, when looking at a lot of the rosters within Rocket League recently. I mean, I feel like the whole scene is, you know, kind of up in shambles, but not in a bad way. It's kind of anyone's game to be able to figure it out.
Absolutely anyone's game, I think, is the right way to put it. Gibbs, you were talking about it a little bit earlier over the past couple of tournaments. I mean, we've had 4 different people in the last 4 tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. And we've never had 5 different winners over 5 tournaments. And I'm going to say right now, like, I'm going to pick the field where we're going to have 5 different winners just because of the level that everyone is playing at.
And, you know, the one thing that we got to point out is that, you know, this is a big DreamHack. A lot of things are going to be happening, but it's not the only one. This is really just kicking off the year of 2019. So let's go ahead and dissect a little bit closer here all the things DreamHack has in store for Rocket League this year.
This is a legendary moment in the scene, having an organization like DreamHack come in and have the Pro Circuit, which is multiple major events, something Rocket League has never seen before, opportunities players have never had before. And this tournament, with all of the RLCS teams, this is the biggest Rocket League tournament ever.
The DreamHack Pro Circuit is an open tournament where anyone can participate. For Leipzig specifically, we've seen an enormous amount of interest from RLCS teams, from rival series teams. So you're getting both of a top-tier division's interests in coming to this tournament, along with the most interesting up-and-coming teams from the local regions.
The impact that this will have on the Rocket League esports scene is pretty huge. I mean, the awesome part of this tournament is that it's open. So not only are we going to have all the world's best players here, we're also going to have, you know, the opportunity that anyone who's bought a ticket and signed up, you know, fast enough is actually going to be able to get to play and prove themselves. So I think that's like something that every esports ecosystem should have, and I think Rocket League is a perfect fit for that.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the fact that we have 4 DreamHack events this year. When the news dropped, it was a bombshell. And now we're going to get a taste of it here. It's our first glimpse into the pro circuit. And I think after this event, the next 3, everyone's going to just be waiting and having their eyeballs glued to the DreamHack Twitch stream.
And with that many big rosters here at this tournament, I am very, very confident James Bott is correct. Their eyes are going to be glued to the screen here. And it's so awesome for me. I love whenever we see tournaments where amateurs have the opportunity to even try and scuffle with the pros. Because so fast, you can be a backseat gamer there sitting up in chat just spamming about how bad they are. And the minute you got an opportunity, you quickly go, I can't do this.
So one of the best stories I had was High Five Gaming. They got the 31st seed, and they were actually happy about that because one of the players is actually a longtime Twitch mod of Garrett G. So they get to play Energy first, which is amazing for them. They're like, that's why we came. Like, we want to play the best of the best.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if we win, that's amazing too. But they're here to try and get to know the players as well. And that includes all the fans here. You literally get to see every single player from the RLCS and get to meet them. That's awesome.
It's kind of like the first live iteration we've ever had, like to go all the way back to the start of competitive Rocket League, you know, like RLC Pro League days where just everybody was playing everything online, all the pros were taking part, and now it's everyone's here for DreamHack, so it's great to see literally all the pros come out and everyone get to meet them.
We have all the pros here, but we got to figure out where they lie within our bracket, if you will, here. So let's take a closer look at what the groups are currently here. As you can see, Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. And boys, I'm going to start it off here, and I want to hear your immediate thoughts on which one you think is going to be the most deadly, the group of death, if you will, here.
It's tough, but I think Group B and Group D both have 5 teams of RLCS caliber. Technically, Tainted Minds is not RLCS, but they're the best team from OCE.
Yeah.
And it's just insane because that means one of those teams is going home from each of those groups. So if I had to choose between those 2 groups, I might go Group B.
I think I'd pick Group B as well.
Because Flipside's in there, and they were the champions from WSOE.
And Ghost is looking pretty decent.
Ghost is looking, and of course NRG. So they were grand finalists. So top 2 from WSOE are in the same exact group.
Yeah, I think B. If I had to pick, B.
And what about if one is a little bit easier? Do you feel like you have a very clear-cut path on any one of these?
Group C, no doubt. I mean, TSM there, obviously the powerhouse team from Europe, but like the other teams, Evil Geniuses, they still have to show us what they can do with Drip A. Nordavind coming in, not the strongest team out of the rival series. They had to struggle a little bit. Complexity looking good, but they've got to prove that they can keep that level of play up. And Vitality, you know, underperforming a fair decent amount.
But if you're in Group C, it's not going to be an easy day.
Not an easy day for sure, but out of all of them.
Sure, I guess, barely.
I feel like when looking at Group C, you know, minus maybe TSM, it feels like a lot of the players and a lot of the rosters there, you know, have had their day. It's just they aren't currently living within that prime. And so it's like, what are we going to see kind of come to light out of this group? And it's going to be very, very exciting to see how those things unfold. But we got to keep track of what the schedule is going to be over the day here, because the bracket isn't this the only thing we're going to be hashing out here, as we'll be taking a couple of seconds as we get into that. So I just, you know, I think it's really cool that we are going to be starting with the Group A and Group B and then kind of translating later on into Group C and Group D, which makes, you know, the action here early on very kind of predictable going into it. I'm excited to see what we have for the action, but is there any head-up matchup here as we get our schedule showing? First one is going to be between Savage and Rogue. Boys, this one is a very, very juicy one here. A lot of story points that I feel like we have to cover up on first. And without a doubt, one of those has to be by a young man of the name of Alpha.
So he's a player that I am looking out for, and I'm going to say the J word here. I'm going to say Justin Levels, where we saw Justin in 2018 kind of just pop off out of nowhere. Like he looked great in the rival series, and then we're like, we'll see how he looks in the RLCS.
And he blew everyone out of the water.
Exactly. It's the same with Alpha, where he's a young kid. He popped off throughout the rival series. He could possibly do it here with Savage.
Maybe.
He's extremely young. So it's a little questionable about his first LAN, because obviously, like, this is his first LAN, but he's only played on a laptop before, so 60 frames per second. Now he's playing on a really nice setup.
You have unleashed
it might help
beast.
or hurt. I don't know. Like, it might be like, oh my God, I need to go home and buy a PC right away. So we'll see how he looks in this first matchup.
And of course, they do go against Rogue. I mean, Rogue, they swap out Prime Thunder, bring in, you know, what we all like to call the poster boy in Chronovi. And that's the big question is what does this team gain with Chronovi? And
it's been shaky, that's
to say the least. To say the least. I mean, they lost just through WSOE qualifiers, DreamHack qualifiers. They lost to Aftershock, Perfect Storm, Splice, Paranomics. They've lost to a bunch of teams not in the RLCS.
So I was on record too saying that was the best roster move of all of NA too. Bringing Chronovi into Rogue, just that leadership, and try and fix that squad to help it to be a little bit more defensive oriented. and it hasn't panned out yet. And that might be just because they kicked Prime Thunder when maybe they were supposed to kick someone else, because I think Prime Thunder was a great spark on that offense.
Yeah, for me, splitting up, Thunder away from Wonder and having that duo not together anymore, the synergy there versus such a big name like Kronovi. I mean, it's hard, a name as big of Kronovi not to be looking to pick that up. And so what do you do to bring that onto your roster? I feel like they had a lot of tough decisions, and now it's to see whether or not it kind of comes to light here. But you guys at home can be a part of the conversation up here, and you can vote for your favorite team or who you think is going to win in chat using the names as you can see on the lower left-hand side of your screen there with the hashtag Rogue or the hashtag Savage. And, we'll be getting into some of the votes that we have here with the analyst as time goes on. But be sure to get those in because we want to be making sure you're a part of this conversation here at DreamHack Leipzig.
And it's going to be a close vote, I think, because I think there's probably going to be a little bit of an edge for Savage because everyone's asleep in North America, so they can't vote for their boy Kronovi yet. But I think if it was later in the day, I think Rogue would have that advantage because of the poster boy of Kronovi.
Yes, for the fan vote, perhaps. But I think overall, Rogue playing the match against Savage, you got to really think, all right, Rogue, this is the time to show that you've made the proper choice in picking up Kronovi.
There is no more like, oh, we just formed and we were playing for a week or two.
You've had a couple of weeks now.
We've had like a month, yeah. So at this point, it's put up or shut up for all of these teams. And I don't want to hear any more excuses like, we're still warming up to the RLCS. No, you have to show up on this weekend.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and look a little bit closer here on the roster that was willing to move mountains, literally, to be able to pick up Kronovi onto this roster. Rogue between Kronovi, Wonder, and AJ. And, you already talked about it a little bit between, Thunder being taken away, Kronovi in its spot. But what about AJ? Do we have anything here towards him?
So I really like AJ.
Me too,
I think he was a great third man that started to move up more on the offensive side. And Wonder is one of those players where he just, he's still in school right now. And by the end of this year, or the end of, May, he will be out of his engineering degree, and he'll be able to focus more on Rocket League, so this team could get even better. But I'm just excited to see how this team goes. I feel like they still have more potential than Savage, where they can improve throughout the past month or so from scrims. But the weirdest thing to me, I think, is seeing Kronovi not in a G2 uniform. That's going to be really strange. That just looks wrong to me. Him wearing Rogue stuff. That just looks strange.
I was ready for it looks weird not seeing I by Power, but
I mean, that's a little bit of a throwback.
But no, it's a big move, no doubt, and a huge shift in the dynamic because, like you were talking about a little bit, Crow maybe learns how to get this team to play more defensively and understand that side of things, because that was one of FlyQuest's before they were Rogue. That was one of their biggest weaknesses.
Yeah, and when we talked about Kronovi coming over, that was a very long-standing big name within the Rocket League scene, kind of going in with maybe not as popular of a unit here. And I feel like we've kind of got that going on with Savage, with names like Bluey and Devo on the squad, bringing in Alpha here. What do you guys think?
And look at the face of Alpha. That's the first time a lot of fans have seen him because he's only played in online competition. And again, that's my big question. How will he perform on a stage? We know how Bluey and Devo will perform because they've done it before. Bluey was, of course, DreamHack champions last year with PSG, performed really well, and Devo, he's a world champion.
But it's the big redemption arc, for both Devo and Bluey, because like I said, they both got kicked off of their teams after winning big major tournaments, and they both had to fight through the rival series, and here's sort of the first foray back to playing top-level teams constantly.
Yeah,
so here's the time to show up.
So it's going to be really exciting to see if Bluey ever gets to match up against PSG or Devo versus TSM, the teams that kick them. But these guys look good, and they look good in the rival series. They look good in the promotion tournament.
And they won all the Renegade Cup stuff as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. They dropped one game.
Yeah, they look very good.
13-1.
Yeah.
In wins. It was absolutely insane. So they know that their competition are these teams in the RLCS, and this is a great first matchup here.
Well, with that, we got a couple of the votes from you guys at home, but it is now time to figure out what our predictions here are up at the desk. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll kick this one off, boys. I think it's a tough one. You already, I think we raised great points from both halves of the battlefield, but it's the mount. It's Kronovi. It is very hard without a huge roster on the other side to vote against this man, even with maybe some struggles that they had as late. That's where my vote's going.
I'm going to have to agree. I think Rogue, just because the edge of Alpha hasn't played in this setting before, it could give an edge to Kronovi and Rogue because they've been here and done that before. I'm going to edge Rogue because they're probably going to win game one at least, and I think it's a close series, so I think they win at least in 5.
It could, but it won't because, again, Bluey Savage, Devo, Alpha, those guys, they've had the time. They've put in the work together. They know how each other works. That's the one big thing I don't believe Rogue has had time to do. They still need to figure out that identity as a team, and that's going to play for Savage.
And that argument, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, only gets furthered based on, again, removing that long-standing duo for the adjustment of Kronovi. You're essentially whittling away at the synergy that this roster once had. And again, it's hard to say no to a guy as, you know, with the credentials like Kronovi really has for this roster. Any final thoughts here before we get into it? Maybe some play style adjustments or things we can expect within the game?
I don't know what we're going to see from all these teams, and I think that goes across the board where we have all these new rosters, and they've been scrimming a lot, but we haven't seen a lot of results yet. So I'm just excited to see what these teams bring to the table on a very important day one.
And the one thing I at least in terms of playstyle, the one thing I don't want to see from Rogue is hesitation. That's been the biggest thing on defense for them, is the communication, because like you said, they have to learn how that communication on defense works, and as soon as they figure that out, that's what...
And once you hesitate, Savage is extremely fast, and that is not going to bode well for them.
Yeah, speed is going to be something I'm sure we kind of talk about all tournament long here, as it is going to be very crucial for a lot of these teams. But let's go ahead and see what you guys at home voted. Are you on the Kronovi side of things there? And in fact, on the Rogue side, no. 25% on Rogue, 75
Understandable.
to the side of Savage.
Hey, it's 2 a.m. Pacific time. It's 5 a.m. Eastern time. I get it. I get it, guys.
They just know who's going to win.
We'll see the edge go to North America later in the day.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think that, you know, this is one of those series that there is a lot of a strong enough argument on both sides here that I can see, you know, Twitch chat, you can go either way there with that. But, you know, before we get into this match, we're going to go ahead and bring up our commentators here over the next match. It is James Bott and Jorby. Guys, what are you thinking about this setup?
Well, all I got to say is that Cheeves is the only one on the analyst desk that knows what the heck he's talking about.
I mean, I think that's a bold statement, but he is right on this one. I will give him that. I mean, I don't always agree with the Chiefs, but I think Savage is definitely the favorite here, especially with the, I mean, Gibbs was the one, you were the one, Gibbs, listing off all the losses that they had, and then you're picking them. I don't understand that.
He's guessing. You know how it goes.
Gibbs guessing.
Excuse me, Jorby. Like, I was giving you so many compliments backstage, and now you're just betraying me like this. I don't like it at all.
I'm just relying on that new guy luck. You know, that's what I'm hoping
There we
comes
go,
in.
there
I'm
we
just
go.
going to clutch it out purely out of like, I don't know any better,
Don't worry,
guys.
Fred. Your time's coming.
Look at this. Like, he's wearing a T-shirt.
Well, yeah,
over
this
here,
one,
so-
it's going to be a long
Gotta
day. There's
earn
a lot
the
of
analyst
teams.
jacket, yeah.
There is a lot going on, guys, but I'm going to hand it over to you, and let's see what happens here between Rogue